There are a growing number of Democrats here on the Hill who say they don't just want to impeach DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, they also want to potentially use the threat of a partial government shutdown later this month as leverage to get ICE funding cut. Take a listen.
We are officially back on the brink. Congress is facing a January 30th deadline, and the leverage play this time? It's all about the future of ICE. If you thought the last shutdown was long, wait until you see the demands being put on the table right now.
There are a growing number of Democrats here on the Hill who say they don't just want to impeach DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, they also want to potentially use the threat of a partial government shutdown later this month as leverage to get ICE funding cut. Take a listen.
I think the first thing is to make sure that we remove Kristi Noem. The next thing is that we hold appropriations and funding for ICE until it can be reformed.
We have to, in Congress, leverage every tool available to hold this administration, to hold ICE accountable. We are in an appropriations process right now. We should not be funding this terror.
This is a high-stakes game of political chicken that we've seen before, but the rhetoric has shifted significantly. You're hearing terms like militarized policing and accountability used as foundational requirements for just keeping the lights on in Washington. It's fascinating to watch the Progressive Caucus take such a hard line on DHS funding, especially following the tragic events in Minneapolis with Renee Nicole Good. They aren't just asking for policy changes anymore. They are effectively holding the entire federal budget hostage to force a total overhaul of how immigration law is enforced. Is this about safety, or is it about a fundamental ideological shift in how we view our borders? The tension between the House and Senate is palpable, and the American taxpayer is the one caught in the middle.
Connecticut Democratic Senator Chris Murphy is also putting forward a bill that would put strict limits on ICE arrests, ban agents from wearing masks, and keep Border Patrol at the border. And he's warning Republicans a partial government shutdown could be on the horizon.
But you're not ruling out a potential government shutdown over this battle for DHS reforms.
That's a decision for Republicans.
But you don't rule it out.
They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If they don't want to work with Democrats and shut down the government, that's up to them.
We haven't ruled anything in, and we haven't ruled anything out. Everything is on the table from the standpoint of complete and total accountability. We just haven't had the discussion as a caucus as it relates to what is the best path forward. ICE's behavior, which is objectively out of control. They are killing American citizens with dollars provided by ICE by Republicans on a partisan basis. So we're going to have a conversation about the best path forward. What is clear is that Kristi Noem is completely and totally unqualified. She should have never been confirmed by Senate Republicans. It's disgraceful that she's there. She should be run out of town as soon as possible. Figuring out the best way to accomplish that objective is going to take a conversation and strategic engagement, as we've done on every other issue, particularly in areas where we continue to win on behalf of the American people.
Notice the language Hakeem Jeffries uses here: objective behavior and killing American citizens. By framing ICE's actions as a direct threat to the public, the Democratic leadership is creating a moral imperative for the shutdown. On the flip side, you have Senator Chris Murphy basically passing the buck to Republicans, saying the shutdown is their decision. It's the classic DC blame game, but with a January 30th deadline, the clock is ticking much faster than usual. What's really at stake is the filibuster. We're hearing more and more talk about nuking it just to push through these massive spending bills. If that happens, the very structure of how the Senate functions changes forever. This isn't just a budget fight, it's a battle for the rules of the game.
Welcome to the new life. Salud. El TikTok.
De regreso a
Juárez. ¡Sas!
This footage is a massive PR nightmare for those pushing the inhumane conditions narrative. When you see clean facilities, big screen TVs, and people seemingly relaxed, it directly contradicts the warehouse imagery often cited on the House floor. This is why viral clips like this are so dangerous in a political news cycle. They provide a ground truth perspective that bypasses the talking points. Whether this represents the majority of centers or just a high-end example, it fuels the Republican argument that these facilities are actually better than what many struggling Americans have at home. It's all about optics, and right now, the optics are totally disconnected from the political rhetoric we're hearing in D.C.
Filling out and submitting ballots from her former tenants.
In Franklin County, an apartment manager with access to ballots from former tenants allegedly abusing the system. This confirmed by Detective Andrew Gardner in his investigation.
I was able to identify several other ballots that look to be look to have characteristics on the signature line that were not consistent with the signatures on file.
And here is the third rail of American politics: voter fraud. An actual arrest in Franklin County for an apartment manager using former tenants' ballots is the exact smoking gun that skeptics point to when demanding stricter voter ID laws. While the scale of this specific case might be small, the psychological impact on the public's trust in mail-in voting is enormous. If you can't secure an apartment complex's mailroom, how do you secure a national election? This is why the Republican side is pushing so hard for no tax on overtime and voter ID provisions to be tied into the funding bill. They see a direct link between the border, documentation, and the integrity of the 2026 midterms. This is perhaps the most intense clip of the bunch. Seeing a Somali-American federal agent being berated by his own community shows the deep cultural fractures this enforcement surge has created. He's being called a traitor for simply doing his job, which highlights the impossible position these agents are in. It's no longer just a policy debate in a boardroom. It's a confrontation in the streets of Minneapolis. This level of social friction is exactly what the click-to-cancel culture and mass deportation rhetoric lead to, a complete breakdown of social cohesion. If we can't agree on the basic enforcement of our laws without it turning into a neighborhood standoff, we have a much bigger problem than just a government shutdown. We are less than 2 weeks away from a total freeze. Do you think the Democrats will blink on ICE funding, or are we headed for another record-breaking shutdown? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated as this Jan 30th deadline approaches.